Good afternoon. The snow removal operations continue in the city. Officials gave an update this morning saying they've entered phase 2.
They say it's one of the largest cleanups ever following the record-setting storm that smothered the city on Sunday. CTV's Allison Hurst has been following the snow removal efforts and joins us live now with the very latest. Allison.
Michelle, so we're at one of the 5 dump sites where crews are currently bringing all of that snow to get rid of it out of city streets, out of areas with hospitals, TTC locations. So trucks are coming into this dump site and then they're taking it over to that large pile over there, dumping it out and leaving it there to go, then head back out to one of those 25 crews they've got scattered around the city to collect more and do it all again. And then once they've done that, there are some diggers that are collecting the snow and taking it over to a melter. And that just allows them to keep the capacity moving and get rid of it altogether. So staff say that this work started last night and they're removing snow on very narrow streets where residents have run out of areas to put it, and it's gone down to 1 lane. An example by the city's manager is residential roads in the beaches, for instance. People will know because there are orange no parking signs going up asking people to move their cars, and they're giving them about a 24-hour notice to remove the cars, and so they can start the work, and that large equipment can come in and remove the snow. As I mentioned, this is one of 5 dump sites the city has in operation. And the other job, they say, is they're tackling sidewalk access. The city manager says that's been a top service call to 311 for people reporting impassable sidewalks or challenges. So sidewalk plows are being sent back out to re-clear areas, and they've increased the number of staff doing visual treks and inspecting them to track sidewalk clearing.
We began snow removal yesterday. We have completed clearing around some of the hospitals area. We're now focusing on bridges, highways, transit routes, and residential streets. We are prioritizing the narrow street first. As you can see, our dump sites are running at full capacity. Snow melters, like the one behind me, are operating continuously, and staff are identifying additional dump sites. We're looking at 2 more to support ongoing operations.
We realize that sidewalks have become an issue where we're just not doing enough and we need to improve. So last night we started to send more crews out to look at sidewalks. As the mayor said, we have more inspections happening. Clearly there's a gap in our performance around sidewalks, and we're hoping to improve that over the next 24-hour cycle. We're also now heading into the removal piece. The signs are going out. We're typically going to give about 24 hours notice. I know earlier on I said maybe up to 48 hours, but I think we're going to do that kind of day notice, and people can be prepared for us to start to remove it.
So dump sites like this one can hold up to 50,000 tons of snow, and that would be its capacity. But then having the melters allows them to melt 36,000 tons of snow a day. So it allows them to continually truck it in here. Now, City Manager Paul Johnson did say that they are looking at least 2 other dump sites to try and expand that to make sure they still have some more areas. Not all of them will get a melter like this one, but they want to be able to have a few more places for all of this snow to go. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Allison. Residents, meantime, eager for more room on their streets, are watching the snow removal efforts closely, particularly after the city struggled to deal with a major storm last year.
Reaction has been mixed so far, but most people are giving the city a passing grade. CTV's Beth Macdonell has been speaking with residents about the snow clearing efforts and joins us live with more. So, Beth, maybe not an A+, but a passing grade.
Yeah, I'm hearing around B, I would say. So that's pretty solid, pretty good. More people are really emerging now after this storm, walking and driving around. And I don't think anybody is going to argue with me that there is a lot of snow just about everywhere in the city. Let's start with some of the roads. While main streets have been plowed, you can see in some parts of the city the snow is still spilled out over the street, taking up most of the lane of traffic. I saw a few drivers spinning their wheels, struggling to get out of parking spots, and some sidewalks are also really tough to navigate, especially for people using canes or anyone with mobility issues. So far, the people I've been speaking with say crews seem to be doing a better job than last winter, but there are still trouble spots.
It's not that bad, but It's worse than usual just because the side streets are horrible. The main streets aren't that bad, but the side streets on the sidewalks are really bad.
A lot of the sidewalk is not fully cleared out, so it's been a struggle walking from where I want to go.
It appears the shoveling, plowing, snow clearing is far from over, and people all over Toronto are going to have to deal with less than ideal conditions for a little longer. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. We've got more news in a moment, but first a look at the forecast. There's a live shot of Nathan Phillips Square. Many people on the ice. You might notice that we're getting some sunshine today, which is nice. We're not getting any snow, which is also nice. And it seems like, I guess, next week things are going to be a bit better. Jessica Smith is joining us with a look at the current conditions. Hey, Jess.
Hey, just a little bit better, right? And all those folks skating, they were skating on the sunnier side of the rink because when you're in the sun, it's a little easier to manage all of this extremely cold weather. We're holding off from the bulk of the snow for today. We could still maybe see a pop-up flurry, but the bulk of the lake effect snow is going to be along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay through Goderich, Barrie, Owen Sound, and Perry Sound. They're still dealing with some pretty significant snow in areas Durham region and east out towards Kingston. Now, as we head throughout our day, it's not unlikely that we will see a little bit of lake effect snow, but the heavier amounts are going to be again a little bit further west. Temperature-wise, it is frigid out there. We're not seeing a terribly strong wind right now, but we do see wind gusts pick up as we head into the afternoon, so keep that in mind. Although it is a southwesterly or west southwesterly wind, it won't be warm, and we are holding on at -7 as we head throughout our afternoon. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast. There is hope on the horizon, but we'll have those details in a moment. Right now, it's over to Michelle.
Thank you, Jess. York police have identified the victim of a deadly daytime shooting in Vaughan. 65-year-old Sergio Lopez was gunned down Monday afternoon in a commercial plaza near Wingus and Roundtree Dairy Roads. As officers were responding to that scene, a call came in for a black SUV on fire near Kipling and Woodbridge Avenue. Investigators say the SUV matched the description of a suspect vehicle that fled following the shooting, but no one was inside at the time. Police believe this was a targeted incident, and they're asking anyone with information to come forward.
One person is fighting for their life following a major crash on the 410 in Brampton this morning. The crash happened in the northbound lanes of the 410 at Clark Boulevard around 2:30 in the morning. Police say 2 vehicles collided. Following the crash, the people in one of the cars left their vehicle, and the driver was hit by a third vehicle.
There was 3 occupants in that blue vehicle. The driver was standing outside of his vehicle, and I am told that he was pinned between the approaching vehicle and his stopped vehicle on the highway while he was outside of his vehicle, resulting in those critical injuries. The 2 other occupants, one was injured slightly or relatively minor. The other person was not injured. I'm not sure what the circumstances were on that, either as a result of the original collision or of the secondary collision as the vehicles were getting thrown around. And then the 2 occupants in that white third vehicle that approached, all taken to hospital, mostly as a precaution.
Police say a total of 5 people were injured as a result of the crash. However, all of the other injuries are considered minor. The cause of the initial crash remains under investigation.
2 people have been injured in a multi-vehicle crash involving a streetcar. It happened around 4 a.m. on Queen Street west of Spadina. Both victims were taken to hospital with minor injuries. Roads in the area were closed for the investigation, but they have since reopened. Police are still looking into just what caused this crash.
A group of cyclists is going before the province's highest court today to defend their challenge of the Ford government's plan to rip out 3 major bike lanes. The cyclists argued the province's plan to remove bike lanes is a risk to their safety in violation of the charter. The government appealed and argued to the lower court, and it ruled effectively creates a right to the permanent maintenance of bike lanes. Last year, a judge found the plan to take out bike lanes on Bloor, Yonge, and University was a risk to cyclists and was made without proof it would actually reduce congestion. Well, the city saw a record number of visitors in 2025, according to a new report from Destination Toronto.
The data shows Canadians and international travelers from outside the U.S. made up the majority of visitors to our city. CTV's Rahim Ladani joins us live now with a closer look at the numbers. Rahim.
Hey, Michelle and Nathan. Let's start with what we all experienced in the city last year. Of course, there was the Toronto Blue Jays World Series run. Coldplay was here, remember that? We obviously had the Caribbean Carnival and TIFF. There was a lot happening in the city. Toronto felt busy, and now we have the numbers to back it up. According to Destination Toronto, 28 million people visited the city last year and spent over $9 billion. That's a billion with a B. That is the most in the city's history. These figures are from Destination Toronto, as I mentioned, who say that dollar amount, it didn't just come from hotels and restaurants. It also translated into $13.5 billion in economic impact. So who exactly came to Toronto last year? Well, it's no surprise that domestic tourism was up with fewer Canadians crossing the border, but international travel was actually the fastest growing piece of the puzzle. While U.S. visitors dropped slightly, those overseas had an 8% jump over the pond, led by people from the United Kingdom and Germany. Here's more from the president of Destination Toronto.
We've known for a long time what an engine tourism is for our city, and it's easy to overlook on a day like today when it's snowbanks everywhere. But even today, there's thousands of visitors in the city, either for meetings or for business travel, or even just to come have a great meal or see some theater or something like that. And we've seen that the economic power, especially in this era of a lot of volatility. A lot of export sectors are really struggling right now, but tourism is proving to be a very resilient sector. And so that international growth that we're seeing has been very important and has really contributed to the economy significantly.
So what's in store for 2026? Well, obviously no event is going to be larger than the FIFA World Cup. Billions of people worldwide are going to be focused right here on the city of Toronto. So as positive as 2025 was, 2026 could be taken to a whole other level, and that is going to have a ripple effect on other communities nearby. We're talking Ottawa, Muskoka, Niagara, and I can tell you already, we've been chatting with individuals here who are from Australia, Nova Scotia, people from all over the globe wanting to come to Toronto to experience everything it has, whether it is the summer or the winter like now. Reporting live, I'm Raheem Ladani. Michelle, back to you.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you, Raheem. And still to come, FIFA has unveiled a countrywide celebration ahead of a huge event, the World Cup, arriving in Canada in just a matter of months. We'll have those details a little later in the newscast.
But first, the Bank of Canada says it'll be holding its key interest rate steady at 2.25%. For more on the decision, we're joined live by CTV's Scott Hurst. So, Scott, the central bank makes this decision. What was the rationale behind it?
Nathan, this is the first interest rate decision of the year from the Bank of Canada. So really our first chance to hear from Bank of Canada Governor Beth Macdonell on the policy rate, but also to gain some insight into the months ahead and what the Bank of Canada is looking at and how they're seeing where the economy could go in the near future. So let's first focus on the initial policy announcement, widely anticipated to keep the interest rate steady at 2.25%, with the central bank saying its current policy rate really remains, as it says, appropriate based on its outlook. And from economists, what we're hearing is that there really wasn't much a compelling reason either way, especially when you take into account inflation seems kind of anchored in the Bank of Canada's target range of around 2%. However, we do know that the consumer price index did rise 2.4% in December, but expected to remain in the 2% range for much of the year, according to the Bank of Canada. Here's more from Bank of Canada Governor Beth Macdonell.
As the Canadian economy continues to adjust to U.S. trade restrictions, we expect the economy to grow modestly and inflation to stay close to our 2% target. However, uncertainty around our forecast is heightened. The range of possible outcomes is wider than usual. U.S. trade policy remains unpredictable, and geopolitical risks are elevated.
So, Nathan, it's really that last point you heard from Bank of Canada Governor Beth Macdonell. There's a whole lot of uncertainty, particularly when you look at our relationship with the U.S. and the current trade policy coming out of the White House.
And with that uncertainty, Scott, is there any possibility that they could change the interest rate in the future?
At this point, because of so much uncertainty, that's where the Bank of Canada is leaning. That is really unsure about which way the interest rate might be able to go in the near future. And so there is a whole lot of question, a whole lot of uncertainty, not just tariffs that have already been implemented, but the threat of more tariffs. And we heard the Bank of Canada Governor Beth Macdonell really single out the upcoming review of CUSMA, which is the Canada, U.S., Mexico, North American Free Trade Pact, as it is coming up for review to in the coming months, and a whole lot of uncertainty about what could happen there and how that might impact the Canadian economy. So that really is a dominating theme throughout this announcement from the Bank of Canada, first and foremost, announcing that it is keeping the interest rate at 2.25%. But after that, a whole lot of uncertainty about what it might mean in the future in terms of our relationship with the United States.
All right, CTV's Scott Hurst in the CTV National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Canada's premiers are taking part in 2 days of meetings in Ottawa with the economy, affordability and trade set to top the agenda. Prime Minister Mark Carney is expected to have separate meetings with some of the leaders today ahead of a meeting with all of the premiers tomorrow. This gathering comes ahead of negotiations to renew the Canada-US-Mexico Agreement, or CUSMA, which is set for its first formal review this summer.
The federal Liberals are focusing on the passage of a bail legislation bill by hitting the pause button on a move to create a crime bill and push that through the legislative process. A motion passed Monday stops a study of the hate crime bill in order to focus on getting the bail bill passed. The move is something the Conservative Party's been pushing for since the Liberals and Bloc Québécois agreed to an amendment to the hate crime bill, which removed a religious exemption on hate speech in the criminal code. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre called that amendment an assault on freedom of expression and religion. Passage of the Liberals' bail bill would make it more difficult to get bail for a number of crimes, including car theft, extortion, and human trafficking.
The Foreign Affairs Minister delivered a keynote address to the Nordic Canadian Arctic Symposium in Ottawa this morning. Anita Anand told the gathering that Russia poses a clear threat in the region.
We saw that Russian infrastructure was moving further and further north towards the Arctic Circle. We have seen dual-use infrastructure in those geographical regions. And the reality, indeed since 2022, has direct implications for Canada's security, for North American defense, and for the stability of the Arctic region itself.
Anand reaffirmed Canada's commitment to increase its presence in the region and insisted that defending our Arctic sovereignty is a national security priority. The minister added the situation concerning Denmark and Greenland has highlighted that the Arctic is increasingly the front line of strategic competition.
The federal government revealed how much it cost to cull 300 ostriches at a BC farm last year. Newly released documents show the cull cost more than $6.7 million. The costs were split between the RCMP, Canadian Food Inspection Agency, and the Department of Justice. The biggest expenses for all three agencies were employee salaries, a legal battle, and related public safety matters. The cull was operated after an avian flu outbreak at Universal Ostrich Farm in Edgewood, BC.
The 2026 World Cup is just 4.5 months away, and FIFA has launched Canada Celebrates, a countrywide program aimed at celebrating this major sporting event. For more, we're joined live now by Victor Montagliani, FIFA Vice President and CONCACAF President. Victor, great to have you with us. Certainly, when it's this snowy and cold outside, it's hard to think about soccer, but it is coming fast. And I know you have a special initiative you want to share with the country. Bring us up to speed on it.
Thank you, Michelle. I don't have the liberty of not thinking about soccer, regardless of what the weather is, but yes. Listen, it's a very important day here that we're announcing our Canada Celebrates program. It's really, we're excited that we're going to be able to bring the World Cup in its festive atmosphere in a sort of a festival type setting to up to 40 communities from coast to coast to coast, starting on June the 11th. In Halifax and on the West Coast. The locations will be strategically placed where up to 75% of the population of Canada will be within a 2-hour drive of going to this festival type of atmosphere where there'll be obviously the community can go watch the game on the big screen. It'll be free. There'll be interactivity through a football pitch and some games, and also there'll be local music and food and mascots, and it's a great way to celebrate and enjoy the game. And so for us, it's great. It's a way of showing off not only what the World Cup is, but also intertwining it with our Canadian culture and our Canadian mosaic from coast to coast to coast.
Oh, well, Victor, we know when the World Cup is on, particularly in Toronto, communities come alive, and it's one of those events where you do want to be out with people, not just sitting, alone in your house sort of thing. So if people want to be able to check out these amazing events in their community, how are they going to find out about them?
So we will, in short order, not today, but in short order, announce where the locations will be. And then once that's announced, and obviously we'll be hitting all the platforms, social media, our FIFA website, obviously the news will be picking it up, and we'll also be advertising on also the local communities. Please come and check it out and come experience the World Cup with your fellow Canadians.
There is such a vibe, and I can only imagine what it's going to be like when we have the World Cup in our actual city, in our country. How else is your team, and I know you've been working hard on this, hoping to build on this excitement and this amazing opportunity for Canada?
Yeah, I think the World Cup, obviously, we're all going to be behind the Canadian team and having success on the field. But also, I think what's important is the success off the field, having the World Cup be really, for us as a sporting standpoint, a bit of a cultural revolution. We know the sport, there's so many Canadians that play it, but I think having the World Cup in our backyard will sort of, bring that international relevancy of what the game means. And I think the biggest legacy is, especially with our youth, sort of, as I like to say, trying to light that pilot light in a young boy, a young girl, that will sustain them like it did with me in terms of what the game means to you and all the good things the game of football brings to an individual.
That is just wonderfully said. Victor Montagnani, the FIFA Vice President, CONCACAF President, great to chat with you ahead of the World Cup. It's coming fast. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Michelle.
Meanwhile, the World Cup trophy is coming to our city. It will be here May 25th and 26th. Mark your calendars, the final stop on a cross-Canada tour. The trophy will also be in Vancouver, Calgary, Winnipeg, Montreal, Halifax, as well as Ottawa. The 75-stop FIFA World Cup trophy tour kicked off on January 3rd in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The current trophy was first handed out back in 1974. It's made of 18-karat solid golds, and fans who want to see the nearly 14-pound trophy can register on sponsor Coca-Cola's website starting tomorrow morning for a chance to get a free ticket.
U.S. President Donald Trump has reiterated his threat of military action against Iran with a demand for a deal on its nuclear program. In a Truth Social post, Trump says a massive armada is heading to Iran. Trump warns that if no deal is reached, the next attack will be far worse than the U.S. strikes last June. Trump has also not ruled out military intervention against Iran over its crackdown on protests. Rights groups say thousands of protesters have been killed by the Iranian regime.
Tensions remain high in Minnesota after Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar was sprayed with an unknown substance during an event in her home state. She was sprayed while speaking at an event. She was not injured. The suspect was immediately tackled by police and later charged with third-degree assault. Following this incident, Omar posted on social media that she will not be intimidated from doing her work and thanked her constituents for their support.
New details have emerged in the fatal shooting of Minneapolis nurse Alex Preddy. The Department of Homeland Security revealing that 2 federal agents opened fire. This as U.S. President Donald Trump signals a shift on his stance on the controversial immigration raids in Minnesota.
We have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else, and we're going to de-escalate a little bit.
A new Homeland Security review sent to Congress says that 2 federal agents opened fire on Preddy after one agent yelled that Preddy had a gun. But at no point does the report say Preddy tried to reach for his gun. And video shows his gun being removed by an agent before the first shot was fired. Trump said earlier that Preddy shouldn't have had a gun, even though he had a permit to carry one.
A pair of Canadian companies are caught in the crossfire over their ties to ICE south of the border.
As CTV's Andrew Johnson reports, the businesses are weighing public perception against profit.
This Virginia warehouse is owned by Vancouver billionaire Jim Pattison, but it may soon be property of ICE. The U.S. government is planning to buy the building to use as an ice processing facility, sparking backlash.
You have a moral duty to stand in the interest of humanity and to cut your ties with ICE immediately.
BC's Green Party leader is calling for shoppers to boycott Patteson's grocery stores, including Save On Foods.
As Canadians, I think we need to stand in solidarity with our American neighbors who are at risk of violence every day and do everything in our power to pressure these corporations.
Another BC-based business, tech company Hootsuite, is taking heat for providing social media services to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. A protest is planned for Friday.
We've seen it before with Tesla, with Spotify, with Jimmy Kimmel. Public pressure changes behavior. So our message is essentially that the public is watching and you will be remembered for how you chose to act in this moment.
One expert says the question of whether companies should back away from business with the U.S. is not a simple one.
There are lots of Canadians who don't agree with a lot of the actions of Mr. Trump. Do we sever all ties? Lots of Canadians have voted with their pocketbooks not to visit the United States, but that doesn't mean we still don't sell them oil.
Ryder says one potential strategy for these businesses is to keep quiet and hope the backlash blows over. CTV News has reached out to both the Jim Pattison Group and Hootsuite for comment. We've not received a response. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board is blaming system-wide failures for a deadly mid-air crash between a Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines jet a year ago. 67 people were killed in the crash near Reagan National Airport last January. The NTSB says the chopper's route near the airport's second runway was a key factor, along with congested airspace, critical equipment failures, and human error. The board's report describes a chaotic air traffic control situation and instrument failure in the helicopter. It likely had the pilots thinking they were flying 100 feet lower than they actually were. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration has since permanently banned helicopter flights near Ronald Reagan Airport in Virginia.
A funeral was held in Israel today for the last hostage returned from Gaza. The body of Ron Gvili, a police officer, was recovered by Israeli forces in northern Gaza on Monday. Gvili was killed during the Hamas attack on October 7th of 2023. The return of his remains marks the complete return of all hostages taken during the attacks, a key condition of the Gaza peace plan.
For the first time, a woman will lead the Church of England. Sarah Mullally was confirmed as the Archbishop of Canterbury during a ceremony in London's St. Paul's Cathedral today. The former Bishop of London is now the spiritual leader of millions of Anglicans around the world. Her appointment was announced almost 4 months ago. Mullally replaces former Archbishop Justin Welby, who announced his resignation in 2024. The church ordained its first female priests in 1994 and its first female bishop in 2015.
Definitely a day where the layers are going to be needed if you're going to spend any time outside or you work outdoors. Another below seasonal day as we mark the middle of the week and get ready to say goodbye to January. We'll see a daytime high later on of just -7, but it will feel like -13. And even with a southwesterly wind, it will do nothing to warm us up. Coming up, I will have a full look at your long-range forecast, including finally a return to seasonal as we step into the month of February. Those details after the break.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
A magnitude 3.7 earthquake struck southern Ontario late last night. Earthquakes Canada says it happened at 10:59 p.m. with the epicenter located 23 kilometers southeast of Orillia. Roughly 2,200 people reported feeling the quake from areas including Kitchener, Toronto, Belleville, and Niagara Falls. So far, there has been no indication the quake caused any injuries or any damage. Did any of you feel the quake?
Absolutely nothing.
No.
I just read about it this morning. I thought I was awake.
I know.
This apparently happened, but I guess I was spared. How about you?
Not in our part of Toronto. No, not at all. I remember years ago when there was one, like 2010, feeling it, but yeah, no.
No, I mean, I was just shivering because it's cold, but I didn't feel any earthquake. But we are always keeping a close eye on those things. I have a list of different ways to explain cold because I feel like we are sounding like a broken record. I'm like saying frigid and crisp and cool, but I have a list of 22 words I'm going to try to get through today to describe just how frigid it is.
Can't wait.
Outside. It is bitter, it is bleak, it is brisk. But you know what? It is going to get better, but we have to get through to the weekend first. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, it is cool out there, a very crisp day, frigid even, frosty for some, frozen for others, and icy for almost everybody. But I do have good news. It is going to get a little bit warmer. And by warmer, I just mean seasonal, by the time we get in towards the weekend and the beginning of next week. But right now, it is cool. It's nipping out there. But the good news, I guess, the trade-off this time of year is you get a little bit of sunshine. We're at -10 right now, feeling like -17. It feels like -19 in Windsor. It feels like -18 in Ottawa, and it feels like -30 for our friends in Timmins. We're no stranger to the cold this time of year, but it does take some adjusting when you're spending time outside. As we head into the afternoon, we do warm up slightly, but we're staying well below that seasonal average of -2. And even with a southwesterly wind later on, it will do nothing to warm things up because we have that dip of really cold air over the entire province. Into this evening, -15, feeling like -22, and those wind chills stay wicked right throughout the evening. Still dealing with snow squall watches and warnings through Goderich, Barrie, Owen Sound, Parry Sound, through Niagara and out towards areas just east of Durham. Lake effect snow still impacting those communities pretty significantly as we head throughout the rest of our day today. No major systems, but we do have that trough continuing to push all that snow along kind of that eastern shoreline of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. They don't see a ton of relief as we head throughout this midpoint of our week. Again, the good news is it's not a ton of snow for at least the GTA if you're traveling in and around the city, but it does impact your commute regardless, especially if you are taking transit and you're having to wait outside. The heavier snow, again, impacting Owen Sound, Parry Sound, and Barrie right throughout the end of our day today. The cloud cover rolls in for the GTA second half of our day and carries through overnight. More sunshine on the way tomorrow. Again, it's not warm sunshine, but at least we get that sun out there. It's a bit of a trade-off. As we head in towards the end of the week, we will see more and more sun, but it is going to stay very, very cold as we head through the end of the work and school week. And again, that cold Arctic air continues to push down over us as we head right through to almost the end of the weekend. Temperature-wise, that below seasonal trend not ending until we get into about Sunday. We're still below seasonal as we step into February, but we're getting closer to where we should be. And by the time we get in towards Monday and Tuesday, it's still really cold, but it's closer than we have been for a while to that seasonal point. Hopefully this helps you plan. Nathan, I'll send things back to you.
All right. Thank you, Jess. The Raptors will be looking for a 5th straight win when they host the New York Knicks tonight.
Drive, kick, swing. Ingram, there's quick shot, and it's good.
The team is coming off a 103-101 win over the defending NBA champion Oklahoma City Thunder Sunday. Tip-off for tonight's game against the Knicks is set for just after 7:30 at Scotiabank Arena.
The Scepters will be looking to get back in the win column tonight when they face off against the Montreal Victoire.
Another 2-on-1 here. Nurse short side scores! The Nurse is in the house!
The team coming off a 5-0 loss to Vancouver, the Golden Eyes, on Thursday. Puck drop for tonight's game against the Victoire is set for just after 6:30 p.m. in Laval. After tonight's game, the team will be on extended break due to the Winter Games. They will return to action February 27th.
2 gold medalists have been chosen to be Canada's flag bearers at the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics. Mogul skier Mikhail Kingsbury will bear the maple leaf in one of 4 ceremonies to be held simultaneously across northern Italy next Friday. He'll be joined by ski cross racer Muriel Thompson, as both will co-carry the flag in Livigno, where the pair will be competing in their events. Thompson is excited for the opportunity to carry the flag with her fellow Canadian.
When I heard that Mikhail was going to be the other flag bearer, I was not surprised at all. He's had such an incredible career, and to be entering the Olympic opening ceremonies alongside him is an honor, and I'm sure we'll do our best to represent Canada.
Kingsbury won Olympic gold in 2018 and silver in both 2014 and 2022. Thompson earned a gold in 2014 and a silver in 2022.
You're watching CTV News at noon. More news right after this short break.
Canada's premiers are taking part in 2 days of meetings in Ottawa with the economy, affordability and trade set to top the agenda. CTV's Rachel Aiello joins us live from Ottawa with more on the meetings. Rachel, all 13 premiers made it to the capital for this. What is on the agenda?
Yeah, good afternoon. So all of the premiers are getting together today here in the nation's capital, kind of as a pre-meeting to their sit-down with Prime Minister Mark Carney tomorrow. On the agenda today is going to be hearing from all of the premiers about what's going on in their respective provinces and territories, trying to also put some of those interprovincial tensions that we've seen arise over the last few months to the side and try to find a way to come together. So we're expecting there to be a push for that Team Canada approach to be renewed. Newfoundland Premier today said we can't let anyone divide us, of course, leaning into the revived threats we've seen from U.S. President Donald Trump. So this is going to be a chance for all of the premiers to get singing from the same songbook. They're going to meet with the Prime Minister for dinner tonight and then a full day of meetings tomorrow, where he's expected to brief them a bit more on his international travel as well as the state of trade talks.
And with that, any sense of how much trade talks and tensions with the U.S. will play a role in these meetings?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely become at least the unifying factor because of those threats from Trump. There is this revived push for them all to get back on the same page. And we know that Dominic LeBlanc is planning to revive those talks, get down to the United States and start talking about the Kuzma Review very soon. On his way into the House of Commons today, the Prime Minister was asked about where he sees the state of things. Here's a little bit of that.
There's a lot of work to be done for the review of CUSMA. That work has started, both reviews in the United States, internal reviews and consultations. That work has started in Mexico. It's finished in Canada. We'll be ready to sit down and the process will continue.
So with Canada having a sense of where it's standing, I'm anticipating the conversation with the premiers is going to be more so a strategy on how Canada would respond to some of the irritants that we're expecting countries like the United States to bring up in those talks. So I think it's going to be key for all of the premiers to get ready for the fact that issues like supply management could come back on the table, and ensuring that going forward we don't see one-offs, kind of like we did over the China deal with Ontario Premier Doug Ford coming out hard against it and then seeing Donald Trump leverage that in a post on Truth Social.
All right, so I guess a more united front. CTV's Rachel Aiello in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thanks.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, Amazon has announced it's cutting 16,000 jobs globally. We'll have more on the impact of this decision when we return.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
The developmental services in Waterloo region are sounding the alarm over what they say is underfunding across the sector.
They say adults with developmental disabilities are being left behind after they age out of programs aimed at youth. CTV's Spencer Turcott has the details.
22-year-old Olivia has an infectious laugh, and her family says she is very social. She doesn't let any challenges get her down.
Olivia lives with an intellectual disability. It's a very rare genetic disorder.
As a child, Olivia took part in developmental programming that involved organized activities, but now that she's an adult,
she has aged out of all of those. They literally handed me a folder with pamphlets. And unfortunately, due to Olivia's level of care that she needs, most of them were not appropriate.
It meant key programs that kept Olivia's spark alive were suddenly gone.
We lost the amazing girl that she was because she didn't have those social outlets, and we couldn't allow that to happen.
So Olivia's parents had to make some serious sacrifices.
My husband had to leave his job to stay home and take care of her, and then we we personally fund for her to go to some day programs.
Those day programs only cover a couple days of the week, and it costs them the equivalent of a monthly mortgage payment. They're not alone either. It's why 9 Waterloo Region agencies are putting out a joint call asking the province to do more when it comes to helping adults with developmental or intellectual disabilities.
There's a crisis happening, and just in our Waterloo region alone, we have pretty close to 1,000 people waiting, and they're either waiting for home support. Over and above that, almost 750 people waiting to get into some type of day activity.
KW Rehabilitation CEO Ann Bilodeau says there's a clear disconnect because service levels are dropping while wait lists are increasing.
We'd like to work with our ministry and say, look, if you give service providers the resources in which to expand, or even just let us balance our budgets. We're not asking for the moon.
In an email to CTV News, a spokesperson from the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services says in part, our government is making record investments, including a historic $3.7 billion in developmental services this year, with more than $2.4 billion in funding dedicated to supportive living and other wraparound supports to ensure people have the support they need. Still, Olivia's family says the funding isn't translating to the help they need, at least not quickly, fearing she'll never get off the wait lists. Spencer Turcott, CTV News, Kitchener.
Amazon is cutting 16,000 jobs globally in the second major round of layoffs at the company in 3 months. The cuts are part of a broader goal of trimming about 30,000 corporate roles, with the layoffs expected to affect workers in Amazon Web Services, Retail, Prime Video, and Human Resources. Amazon slashed 14,000 jobs in October at the time. CEO Andy Jassy stressed the need for the company to eliminate excessive bureaucracy by trimming operational levels and the number of managers.
Coming up, a hockey team made up of players in their 80s is preparing to take on some younger competition. We'll have more on their upcoming tournament when we come back. A group of senior hockey players in London, Ontario are preparing for the competition of a lifetime.
The team, made up of players in their 80s, are preparing to face off with younger competition at a tournament in Huntsville. CTV's Sean Irvin has the story.
On the ice and on the bench, this squad of senior hockey players is full of team spirit.
Go get him, Jamie!
London Senior Hockey, once known as Huff and Puff, has welcomed players into their 80s and a few into their 90s. But when the most senior in this recreational group decided to form their own over 80 competitive team, they ran into a problem. While submitting an application for the Ontario 55+ Winter Games in Huntsville, the team found out they will be in a league of their own.
This is groundbreaking for us because I don't think any 80-year-old team has competed at this level before.
Games officials confirm it is a first. So, with no one else to play in their age group, the London team had to agree to face off against kids in their 70s. The thought doesn't scare this 81-year-old defenseman.
Oh, yeah. I said immediately, put me on.
The declaration is not surprising, as most have been playing for 3/4 of a century.
I think I got my first pair of skates when I was 4. I'm just the type of person that has to keep busy, and I've always played all kinds of sports.
The team will be coached by Brian Laporte, but as a young pup of 72, he does know his place.
You can't teach old dogs anything. Gee, come on.
Laughs aside, Brian, who is the convener of the LSH, takes pride in heading up a squad of senior hockey stars.
Hopefully that's an inspiration for Ontario Senior Games.
Some, like John, a survivor of 2 heart attacks, have certainly taken on bigger challenges. It's partly why he was chosen to dub the team the War Years.
War Years, W-A-R-Y-E-A-R-S, because most of us were born in the war years.
And for that reason, young players are forewarned that this group is not about to let you carry a puck by them without a little chip shot.
Coincidental contact, I guess. Yeah.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
You know, I didn't know what to expect They can skate. They can move. They're really good, these guys.
You know why they're so good? Because they haven't stopped moving. They're still active. You don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about this list. You put it together yourself. This was not AI. This was you.
I put it together myself.
Do you have a favorite? And is it nippy?
It is nippy. It is stinging. It's sharp. It is keen. It's an ice box out there.
It is.
Or you can say it's brick. It's just brick outside. That just means cold.
Okay.
But it is so frigid. And it's not going to get better until the weekend. We do, and I say better in relative terms. It's just going to get back to seasonal.
It's not really better.
But -3, I'm so excited to see -3 in our forecast. It does get a little warmer, but it is going to be wintry. It's going to be a little snowy. It is raw. It is intense. And I've now gotten through my entire list. As we head throughout the afternoon, if you are going to spend time outside, although we are not under a cold warning, it doesn't mean frostbite isn't a possibility, especially if you're spending extra time outside or maybe you work outside. So keep that into consideration. Still seeing some lake effect snow bands along those eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay. So Owen Sound, Perry Sound, Barrie, you're still impacted by the snow for the majority of the day today. As we head in towards the afternoon, we warm up slightly, but really not much. We're at -10 right now. We'll get up to -7, but those wind chills still in that mid-teen to low 20 range for that midpoint of our day. As we head in towards the day tomorrow, guys, guess what? It gets even colder. So surprise, surprise. But it's going to be -12, but it'll feel like -20 as we head into the afternoon. So consider that when you spend any time outdoors and just be safe.
All right, so -3, something to look forward to.
Yes.
All right, that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.